Top of the morning to you. Doug Mealy here, use of force specialist, soft restraint expert, and welcome to this week's episode of On my way out to Dublin, I took a last-minute MDT meeting from the airport with a cluster of talking heads who were apparently expecting me to show them how to put the kit on. Now, I'm always open to transparency, as any use should be documented. It should be assessed by a wider group, ensuring it's necessary, proportionate, and always in the patient's best interests. So I'll make time to present no matter where I am. But let's be clear, there's a reason we invest so heavily in supporting materials, online videos and instructional clips. And in all honesty, an airport packed with stag doos probably isn't the best place to start giving ideas out. I explained that my role isn't just about the fasting of hook and loop through buckles, it's supporting organisations by aligning practice and implementation of the legal and ethical framework. And I'm sure I caught a sneer. The chair was clearly unimpressed, and she assured me that they were well aware of the framework, which I found funny because the only reason I was in that meeting was because their initial response to the request last time had been a flat no. No rationale, no legal basis, no alternatives, just an outright refusal. Yes, viewers, we've been here before where people quietly edit appendices from their chosen specialist advisor, flipping recommendations of soft cuffs being acceptable forms of practice to the polar opposite. And more recently, we had the unlawful culture of care standards sneaking in, we don't use mechanical restraint. We see you. Okay, I said, that's reassuring as it makes it easier if we're on the same page about the CQC supporting the use of belts and cuffs, especially where it's a prolonged manual restraint or if the alternative presents greater levels of risk. I could tell there was an apprehension. Well, we don't go by the CQC, we go by the Mental Health Act. So I quickly dropped the CQC MRE guidance into the chat as it quotes the Mental Health Act. Now, they don't just fabricate this stuff. Appropriate mechanical restraints are perfectly legal in the UK, and anybody saying otherwise? And you know what, it all went quite well after that, and I'm always glad to be involved in the planning stages in discussions around appropriately training staff, because training is about skills, but it's more about being knowledgeable enough to confidently challenge these incongruent denials. You don't need to be rude, and I think people aren't saying no for the sake of it because it's easier. I think they've just been listening to enough lies, enough times, and they carry an unconscious bias. No blanket restriction about the types of restraint used, or proportionately, we might not just be denying access to services. If it's to do with transport, we could be contravening their absolute right to not be subjected to inhumane or degrading treatment by exposing them to other more harmful restrictive practices. So, during carer and advocate involvement discussions, remember, the competent will ask who, why, when, and what alternative. If it's a flat no,